The topic for today is chapter number 1, Chemistry of Representative Elements, that is part of Inorganic Chemistry. Industrial preparation of sodium hydroxide by the Castner Kellner Cell. Before I start the topic, I'd first like to explain few basic concepts along with their keys. For the manufacturing process, we have two reactions, the oxidation and reduction. Oxidation starts from O, so we have another word that is oil. Oxidation is the loss of electron and eventually reduction will be the gain of electron. Talking about a class, we have a CR, so the keyword should be the cathode reduction. So on cathode, we will always have reduction, and for anode, we will always have the oxidation. To run the system thoroughly, an electrolyte has to be used. Electrolyte is the substance that will conduct the electricity through the movement of the ions, and for that conduction or the movement, a source of energy is needed, and here it is in the form of electricity. Now the question that comes in our mind is that why should we prepare it? What is the reason to prepare sodium hydroxide industrially on such a large scale by investing so much of amount? So the answer to that is sodium hydroxide is a versatile compound and it has great significance. I have listed few of them here in this video. The most common use of the sodium hydroxide is in the daily product that we use, that is soap and shampoos. It is used in the paper making industry, for the petroleum products, bleaching and dyeing processes, for the bauxite, that is the aerospace, automotive and electronics after the purification of it. Also, the most commonly used in the canning process, that we consume the fruit and vegetables. So the upper layer or the skin of that particular fruit and vegetable is peeled by using sodium hydroxide. Commonly, it is known as the caustic soda. Sodium hydroxide is known as the caustic soda because of its corrosive nature, and by that I mean that when it gets in contact with your skin, it causes painful burns, it causes rashes. So whenever you are using sodium hydroxide, it must be handled with care. Now talking about the manufacturing. To understand the manufacturing of sodium hydroxide by the Castner Kellner cell, I have put in this picture the diagram of the process. Along with the labeling, here you can see that we have anode, cathode, denuder. So these three are the most important component or the prominent component of the Castner Kellner cell. The reaction starts when the freshly prepared sodium chloride solution is entered into the rectangular shaped vessels, that is upper part of the cell, which contains anodes, and these anodes are made of the titanium blocks. Since it is an anode, so here you will have oxidation, so loss of electron will take place. The lower portion, that is the pipe-like portion, here the mercury is pumped into the system. Mercury is a metal, so mercury pump will be needed for the pumping of the system. This will help the regulation of the mercury throughout the whole process. So in the upper rectangular system, we have sodium ions, and from the pump, mercury is getting into the system, that is the cathode. So sodium and mercury combine together and form a mixture that is known as amalgam. That amalgam is then further transported into a chamber that is known as the denuder. And the function of this denuder is that it contains graphite blocks. These graphite blocks separate the sodium from the mercury. And once that sodium is separated, we have the solution of sodium hydroxide, which is the desired product, and that mercury is again pumped into the system. Now how you can write it down along with the production of different gases that happens throughout the system. It is an electrolytic process The apparatus used is the Castner Kellner Cell. Overall reaction we have is that we have the sodium chloride solution, that is the electrolyte, and it forms sodium and the chloride ions. On anode you can see that we have the chlorine gas production. On cathode we have the production of the amalgam, which is a mixture of sodium and mercury. You also get this in the multiple choice question. In the denuder, that amalgam is used further for the separation of the sodium and mercury, result in the formation of the sodium hydroxide. You can easily note down and attempt it in your board examinations. Now for the advantage and the disadvantages. It is a very efficient process. The product obtained is of high purity, and the most important one is that in this process, sodium hydroxide and chlorine gas are obtained in these separate compartments. It means for the production of sodium hydroxide, you are also getting the chlorine gas, so you get two products. But the disadvantage is that it consumes a high amount of electricity, and also if you remember that we were pumping mercury into the system. So mercury escapes throughout the system and gets in the environment, which ultimately pollutes the food chains. So advantage and disadvantages, the most prominent one are that you get chlorine and sodium hydroxide in the separate compartments, and for the disadvantage, the mercury vapor that escapes throughout the production gets into the environment and causes environmental pollution. Talking about the question, how you get it in your board examinations, this is part of inorganic chemistry and you get it in 8 marks for the descriptive. Describe the manufacturing of the caustic soda by Castner Kellner Cell. What are the advantages and disadvantages of the process? First, you will describe the manufacturing. You will make the cell diagram. Then you can write the explanation. Then the cell reactions, and then they have also asked to report the advantages and disadvantages. Make sure that a label diagram must be drawn to obtain full marks in this question. I have prepared complete notes and have put it in the slides, so you can also copy it down from the slides, and if you still have any query, you can drop down the comment section and I will be happy to assist you with that. In the next video, I will share the properties of the sodium hydroxide. This is all for today. Thank you so much.